Hello there, and welcome to Rainbow Magician Tarot. My name is Mary. Thank you for joining me today. We have something very exciting that we're doing today. I'm really excited about this reading. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while, so I really hope that it works out. I hope that this setting works out, sitting outside, so hopefully it's not too noisy. I'm trying this headphones thing, which might get annoying, but we're going to try to make it work. And hopefully the sun doesn't set on me before I finish this, but we're going to do the best that we can. So this reading is going to be Shadow Alchemy. So what this is basically my take on using tarot for shadow work. So if you are unfamiliar with what that even means, like what is shadow work, what is alchemy, that's okay. I'm going to explain a little bit in the beginning part of this video, so I do want to say that this beginning section might be kind of lengthy because I do want to really explain this process that I'm about to do. So if you don't want to watch through all of that and you just want to get to the reading, I will put the timestamps below, and I will kind of give an abbreviated version of like an explanation in each group, but this is just kind of like a more in-depth explanation for anyone who just wants a little bit more of a background. So with that being said, I'll start kind of getting into the background of what this means, what is shadow work, what is alchemy, and why do I use that term, and how is this going to help you. So if you are interested in learning about that, then just keep watching. Otherwise, if you want to go straight to your reading, you can do that. However, if you have no idea what this is, I would recommend listening to this just so that you know what you're getting into. Okay. So shadow work, what is that? So basically, this is not something that I created by any means. The idea of the shadow is a term coined by Carl Jung, who was a Swiss psychologist who lived in like the 1800s. And he came up with this idea of the shadow, which is basically in any part of ourselves that we tend to suppress or deny, that tend to be parts of ourselves that we deem as bad or wrong in some way. So when we use the term shadow, a lot of people think that it has some sort of like evil, negative connotation when it doesn't like have to. I mean, for sure, definitely, you know, if you want to take a look at things that are what we would judge as evil, then we would definitely call those shadows, but that's not what the entirety of this idea of shadow or shadow work means. So to kind of explain a little bit more, basically we have our identity, we have our like the things about ourselves that we are identified with, right? So like, let's say I think that I am a super patient person, right? So I'm identified with the identity of being very patient. So it's very likely that though I am identified with this one aspect of myself, that I actually have the opposite of this aspect in my shadow, so to speak. So that would be my impatient aspect. So this is a part of me that is still very much part of the totality of who I am, but I'm not aware of it. I'm not identified with it because I think being impatient is a bad thing. So I'm not going to recognize that that is a part of myself, even if I act in ways where it's clear to other people that I don't have a lot of patience. I'm not going to recognize that about myself if I am not identified with it. So then we would say that impatience belongs to my shadow aspect. Okay? So I hope that kind of gives you some idea of what I'm meaning here. So why would you, like, what is shadow work and what is the purpose of it? It is basically the process of uncovering the things that you have disidentified from that are in your shadow, that are still much a part of you. So your shadow is kind of just synonymous with, you could say, the unconscious or the subconscious. The purpose is to reclaim those aspects so that you can become a whole person. Because when we are when we are fragmented and we are disidentified with those aspects. Okay, sorry about that. I'm like, it's a little awkward. I'm like filming outside and my neighbors like are just kind of like chilling. So anyway, it's fine. But what I was saying is when we become disidentified with parts of ourselves, this is what causes us a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, because we can't really cut off a part of ourselves even if we try, right? So there's a lot of things that can manifest in our life that can then, be a reflection of this thing, this part of ourselves that we've disidentified from, that can then cause us a lot of pain, right? So maybe, in our shadow, we have this belief that we are unworthy, but we're not aware of that. There's going to be things that manifest in your reality that are going to reinforce this belief that you're unworthy. And so you're going to be feeling this sense of unworthiness, but you're not really going to be aware of where that comes from. So you're going to be kind of like powerless to do anything about it until you uncover where that belief comes from and how it came to be, so that you can then figure out what needs to be met in order to break free of that. Okay? So, why do I call this shadow alchemy, you might ask? So, this is another thing that is kind of borrowed from Carl Jung. He did not create the idea of alchemy. Alchemy is an ancient practice that was believed to involve the transformation of metals like lead into precious metals like gold. So it was kind of a physical process, but it was also a metaphysical and kind of internal psychic process that had to happen in order to manifest a different physical reality. So Carl Jung used this kind of metaphor of alchemy in relation to the shadow and to the process of reclaiming the shadow. So there are basically 4 steps or stages in the process of alchemy. So the first stage is known as the blackening stage. So this is what Carl Jung would say is the process of becoming aware of the shadow. So this is like recognizing that the shadow exists, right? So this is when you kind of get consumed in it, so to speak. It's like you're choosing to enter the darkness. And then the next stage is the whitening stage. So this is the purification stage. So I like to think of this stage as seeing the innocence behind the shadow. So seeing kind of the root of the shadow. Where did it come from? And usually it comes from childhood. It comes from some childhood wound that has not been healed. And so the whitening stage then is to see that kind of innocence and purity that is kind of hiding behind the shadow. And then we move on to the third stage, which is the yellowing stage. So in traditional alchemy, this would be the stage where the substance that you're trying to transform one substance into another substance. In order to do that, you have to find a place of similarity between them. So you have to find a quality that exists in the first substance that is the same quality that you want to exist in the second substance. So this is what the process of transmutation is about. It's not about taking something and like erasing what it already is and then starting from scratch. It's taking something as it is, finding the thing that you are trying to transform it into within it, if that makes sense. So it's like you're trying to find the gold within the lead in order for then the gold in order for the lead to then become the gold. So when we're applying that to shadow work, the yellowing stage is finding the gold within the shadow. So it's finding the gifts inherent within the shadow that you can then kind of extract and exalt to become their highest form. So then the end stage is the reddening stage. And this is when the substance becomes an entirely new substance. So this is the stage where you really get to embody that integrated totality of who you are, right? So you get to embody the integration of that shadow, and what does that look like? So I have kind of created a little process that's, it's not entirely original. Like I said, this is all coming from Carl Jung, and the steps that I'm going to outline in this process are not things that I have created. There are tools that I've taken from other various places and people, but the way that I have kind of outlined them within the specific order with this specific concept of alchemy is just my own way of doing it. So the first step of the process is, again, it's the blackening stage. So what I have done is I have come up with 4 exercises for each of the stages that you can do on your own, or with somebody if you want to, that will represent each of the stages. And you can do this with the help or the guidance of tarot. So that's what this reading is going to kind of be. It's going to be a pick a card reading. So you're going to choose from 3 piles, and each pile, there's 4 main cards that are going to represent each of the 4 stages of transmuting the shadow. So again, the first stage would be the blackening stage. So that is going to be becoming aware of the shadow. So at each stage, I am going to show you the card, get some clarification on it, do a bit of a reading on what that energy is, and then I'm going to present you with the opportunity to do these practices that I have assigned to these steps. Okay, and again, I didn't create these practices necessarily. This is just things that I've found and kind of made my own that I'm now just assigning to these steps. Okay, so the first practice that's going to happen in the blackening stage, once you see what the cards say, and if it, I'll try to give you a good read on what that shadow is manifesting as in your life. The first stage then is going to be what I call a shadow dump. So this is the first exercise. What you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of paper. So I would recommend having just a journal for this whole process that you use. I have a shadow work journal that I keep, but it can be anything you want. But you're going to take a piece of paper, and this is going to be basically the venting stage. So you're going to just kind of purge out all of the feelings within you that relate to this shadow aspect. So whatever is coming up when I'm doing the reading, and this is trigger warning, this reading is meant to bring up emotions in you so that you can go through this process. So this is not going to be something that is a lighthearted reading or a lighthearted process that you can just do without much thought or care. So I do want to put that out there. I do think anyone can do this process. I don't think you have to be super it doesn't have to be super harsh and super difficult, but I do want you to have discretion and know what you're getting into, okay? So this is going to be the stage where you just kind of dive in to the feelings that you don't really want to look at, and you're just purging them, right? So you're just writing, and you want this to be kind of a subconscious purging, just writing anything that comes to mind relating to the shadow aspect. You're just kind of purging it, okay? So anything that you feel would be difficult for you to even speak out loud, you're just going to write it down completely, just purge it, okay? So then at the end of this stage, you are going to do a process where you then are going to burn this piece of paper, but you have a couple of options about how you do this. So you can either burn the actual paper that you did the purging on, or you can, if you are like me, you want to kind of keep a record of your own growth, and you want to see the way that you have worked through your own shadows, and you like the idea of being able to look back and see this shadow purge that you did, and you don't really want to burn that or get rid of that, if you want to keep that for whatever reason, instead of burning that piece of paper, what you can do is you can take another piece of paper and you can look for kind of the core negative feeling or belief that is evident in that shadow purge, and you're going to write down that core belief. So, for example, I actually did this process this morning because, like I said, this is something I've been thinking about and kind of formulating for a while. I've done each of these practices on their own before. I haven't really ever done them in this order, in this way, until this morning, because I knew I was going to film this video, and I just figured I might as well be the guinea pig and try it out on myself first. So, like, before I even got out of bed, I was doing this. So for me, after I did the shadow purge stage, and I actually waited until after I had finished all 4 stages before burning the paper. So it's up to you whether you want to burn it right after that first stage, or if you want to wait until the end as kind of like a signifier of the process coming to completion. But what I did is, instead of burning that page that I actually did the shadow dump on, I took another piece of paper and I wrote the negative belief that was evidencing through itself through that shadow. So that core belief for me was the feeling that I don't belong. So I wrote on a piece of paper, I don't belong here. And that was then what I took to burn at the end of the process. So when you are burning this, the burning is to signify the beginnings of this transmutation process, okay? So the burning is not to signify it's not to say that you have to get rid of some aspect of yourself. So I feel like there needs to be a clarification here when we are talking about shadow work. The process of shadow work is the process of bringing the shadow closer to you so that it will then be transmuted as a byproduct of that. So the transmutation happens as a byproduct of pulling it closer to you. So the transmutation happens as a byproduct of bringing it closer to you, of seeing the gifts that are already present within it, versus needing to force it to change before you can accept it. So there's a bit of a nuance that needs to be understood there, okay? Because a lot of times when people do these burning rituals, they do so with the intent of release. And that can very much be kind of in line with what this is supposed to signify. It's a release or a setting free of this negative belief, right? However, release is not an energy of pushing something away, okay? So this is going to be a bit of might sound like a bit of a contradiction, but it's not, I promise you. So when we talk about letting go, when we talk about release, it's not an aggressive energy, right? It's a relaxation, okay? A lot of times when people say oh, I'm just trying to let go, I'm trying to release, what you're doing is it's like you're holding on to something, right? And you're like, I'm trying to let go of it. And you're just fighting against yourself, right? You're I'm trying to release it. But that's not going to work, because you're still holding on at the top here. And the harder you pull at the bottom, the harder this part of you is going to fight back. So instead of forcing yourself to release, that's not going to work. What you want to do is you want to release this part, which is the resistance to it. You want to release that, relax that, and have this part come up and join this part and say hey, it's okay. We're going to figure out a way to get what you need. And you're helping this part to relax so that it can then let go of the belief. So I hope that kind of makes sense a little bit. Because again, it's not a push away, okay? It's release is about acceptance. So and this is a metaphor I use a lot. It's swallowing water so that it can exit you, right? So you can't release something from your body if you never swallowed it to begin with. So that's what this process is about. It's about swallowing those painful, aspects or painful truths, so that they can then release, you can then release what is not serving you through them. Okay? So when you're doing the burning process, make sure that you are doing it with the intention to begin this transmutation process, but it's not with the intention of I'm burning this so I never have to look at it again. Okay? Just a little bit of a nuance there. So the second stage is the purification stage. So this is the whitening stage. This is the stage where you are finding the vulnerability and the innocence that lies behind the shadow. So for this stage, the activity that you are going to do is you're going to write 2 letters. And you can decide what order you want to write these letters in, but the first is going to be a letter from your inner child to you, and the second is going to be a letter from yourself to your inner child. So, and you can do this in either order, depending on what most intuitively feels good to you. Okay? So, if you're curious and you don't know what the inner child is, that is basically, again, this kind of goes to Jungian psychology, but this is the part or parts of ourselves. I like to think we have many inner children, not just one, but the parts of ourselves that are still a child, right? We all have parts of ourselves that are still children that never really grew up because they encountered some sort of trauma or some sort of distressing situation, right? Trauma doesn't have to be something big and huge. Trauma can be anything that causes pain that doesn't get resolved. So when we experience things like that, which we all do, there's a part of us that doesn't really grow up. It kind of like gets stuck there in the past. And so we can call that part our inner child or inner children, if you want to think of there being multiple, which I like to think of it that way. So for this part, what you're going to do is you're going to almost do like a channeling process. You don't have to be like an expert channeler or anything. Anyone can do this, but you're just going to sit down with the intention. And again, you can decide whether or not you want to start with your adult self or whether you want to start with the inner child. But you're going to sit down with the intention of, what does my inner child want to say to me? And then you're going to pick up your pencil or your pen and you're just going to write from that perspective. Okay. I have heard that for some people, they like to write with their non-dominant hand when they're like channeling things like this. I don't like to do that because I like have zero control over my non-dominant hand and like I can't, it's not legible at all. But if you are kind of ambidextrous and you want to try that, you can try that. But the purpose of this again is to understand that inner child's perspective. Okay. And you just want to let them say whatever they want to say. You can also be creative with this. If you don't want to write a letter, you can let the inner child express in a different way if they want to. If they want to draw a picture, if they want to write a poem or a song or make a collage, like there's really endless opportunities of things that you could do with this stage of the process. This is really kind of the fun stage. Also tends to be the most emotional stage, I will warn you, because this is really the stage where that reconnect happens with that lost aspect of yourself. So again, just whatever feels most natural and intuitive to you is what you want to do, and you want to let your inner child just express whatever they need to express to you. And then when you feel like that's complete, sign the letter, and then you can move into your adult self, unless you started with your adult self, in which case, you would just do it in the opposite order. And again, I want you to just do whatever feels most intuitive to you to do. So this morning when I did it, started with the inner child self, and I really liked doing it that way. Because I think a lot of times you might think that you know your inner child and like what they're going to say to you, but you really don't. And we can sometimes when we become aware of the inner child self, we can carry some like guilt because we feel like we're not doing enough, or like they're gonna hate us. But a lot of times it can surprise you, the things that they want to express to you. I feel like a lot of times it's us that needs the wisdom from them versus them needing anything from us. So I don't know, just a thought there. But yeah, whoever you want to start with first. So once you've done that, with both aspects of you, by this point you will start to kind of feel this integration start to happen, where you feel closer to this aspect of you. The next stage is the yellowing stage. So this is finding the gold in the shadow. So this is going to be, honestly, I think this is one of the most fun stages. So for this stage, you're going to take the negative belief or feeling that you noticed in your blackening stage, right? So you're going to find something that you wrote about in that stage, something that you disapprove of, okay? So you're going to find something that feels unacceptable to you. That's what you're looking for here. Something that feels unacceptable to you. What painful thing do you just not want to look at and not want to accept as a part of yourself? And you're going to write that down. And then you're going to brainstorm as many things as you can think of reasons why you actually approve of that thing. Okay? So this is the process of exaltation, which is taking something that is unwanted and finding reasons to want it, right? So this is the process that's really going to start this transmutation process, because when you can find approval for the things that you disapprove of about yourself, then that very approval is going to be exactly what you need to then bring those things into their highest form, okay? So you're going to, write down all the ways in which you approve of that about yourself. So, for instance, giving myself as an example again, I was working with the shadow of feeling like I don't belong. So the core wound under that is feeling like I'm just too different, right? And so then that's what I'm working with. When I disapprove of about myself is that I feel like I'm too different. So that's then what I write down, and then I write all of the ways in which I approve of that, all of the ways in which I think that is a good thing, right? That's the exalted form of that. So maybe I don't feel like I belong because I'm meant to be a leader and I'm meant to pave my own way. I'm not meant to, fit into a system that was broken to begin with. Things like this. So you're looking for the positive within the negative, okay? And you don't want to force it. You don't want to write anything that you don't actually believe. So this is going to be, it might be a little bit challenging, but you really want to write things that you actually truly believe. So you're kind of like finding gratitude for this thing, whatever it is, okay? So if I feel like this about me is bad, how can I be grateful for it? And how can I do that in a genuine, authentic way? So again, we're not forcing anything. We're not lying to ourselves, but we're finding something that we genuinely appreciate it. And it can be very, very small, okay? Like whatever comes to your mind, there's no right or wrong, but just as many things as you can think of, okay? So that is the third stage. The fourth stage is the reddening stage. This is about becoming the embodied, exalted form of that aspect of you. So this stage is all about embodiment, and embodiment is all about meeting your needs, okay? So this is the stage where you are brainstorming the action steps that you are going to take and commit to in order to meet the needs of this inner child, so as to live as this embodied, integrated self, okay? So this is the stage where you are making a list of everything that you are going to do that is going to meet the unmet need of the inner child, so that you can begin to embody this exalted aspect, okay? So again, if the shadow is feeling like you don't belong, a way to meet that need would be to find like-minded people, or do something, put yourself out there in a way that fulfills you, whatever it is. Like, just you're making a list of action steps that you're going to take. Okay? And so that is the ending stage of the process. And from that point on, the most important thing to do is to live by that last stage, okay? Because if you do not implement those steps, then this is not fully going to work, because the action is very important, okay? So the last stage is extremely important. So with all of that being said, I'm now going to get into the reading. So again, this is going to kind of break down what each of the steps is for you. So I would recommend, the way I would recommend doing this is after each stage, you stop and you do the exercise before I flip over the cards for the next stage. You don't have to do it that way. If you want to get the whole reading first and then do all the stages, you can do that. However, I just feel like it might work better if you were to actually do each stage as you are getting the information from the cards, okay? And again, you do not need the cards to do this process at all. So these steps are things that you can do if you have never touched tarot cards in your life. The tarot cards are just there for extra guidance, but they're honestly not the most necessary part of this process, okay? So with that being said, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover. If you do like this video, I am in the process of kind of revamping some of my services that I'm offering on my Etsy shop, and I am going to be offering some services that are exactly this style. So I'm going to be offering like a recorded video that's going to be like personal, like a personal reading that is going to be exactly the same process, the same spread of the shadow alchemy. And I'm also going to be offering a live one-on-one shadow alchemy reading. If you want more like one-on-one support with someone, then that will be an option. So look in the description for information about that. But without further ado, we will get into the reading. Okay, so here are your cards. I apologize for the lighting. I tried to film this part earlier when it was still light, but apparently I did not save to my camera. So here are your pile selections. So you have pile 1, which has obsidian. Pile 2, which has copper. And pile 3, which has smoky quartz. So please choose a pile. For this reading specifically, I would definitely recommend just choosing one pile, at least, at first, for each process that you do. If you want to come back to this another day, then you can do that. But since this is a whole process that we're going through, I'd recommend just choosing one pile to start with. And after you go through that whole process, if you give it a few days and you want to come back and try another one, then you can do that. But I would just choose one and pick with your intuition, whichever one most calls out to you. So really try to connect with your heart space, okay? Whatever card pulls at your heart or your gut the most is the one that you want to go for, okay? All right. Okay, so hello, group number 1. So you guys chose this little piece of obsidian. So tried to choose crystals that kind of related to shadow work, and I feel like any kind of dark crystal can be really good for kind of that purification process of understanding the shadow. So I'm hoping that the light is okay here. 1 second. Okay, so we will get into your cards. So the way I'm going to do this, if hopefully you watched the beginning part of this video to understand how this is going to work, but I'm going to, each of these 4 cards that I have are going to represent one of these stages of alchemy, okay? So the way that I am doing this shadow work, again, to reiterate what I said in the beginning part of this video, which I do recommend that you watch. I know that it was a long part, but if you haven't watched it, it will just help you understand this process and what's happening here. The first card is going to represent So each of these cards are going to represent one of the stages of alchemy. So this is how I am trying to use the tarot to employ shadow work, is by utilizing the 4 stages of alchemy, which is kind of the way that Carl Jung, in a lot of his writings, referred to the process of shadow work, is by comparing it to alchemy. So the first stage of alchemy is the blackening stage. So this is the stage of becoming aware of the shadow. The second stage of alchemy is the whitening stage, and this is the stage of like the purification. So this is the stage of finding the innocence behind the shadow. And the third stage is the yellowing stage. So this is the stage of finding the potential for the end substance that we are trying to get to, because the process of alchemy involves going from the process of lead to gold. So you're trying to find the gold within the lead. So in this case, you're trying to find the gold within the shadow. That's the yellowing stage. The last stage is the reddening stage, and this is where what is once was unwanted now becomes the thing that is wanted. So this is the embodiment of the integration. So each of these stages, there is going to be an exercise that I'm going to offer you to do that will go along with each of these stages. And these are all writing exercises, and I would recommend that after I do the reading on one part of the stage, that you pause the video there and you do that exercise before moving on to the next stage. Okay? You can, if you wish, watch the entire reading before you do the processes. I just think it might be better if we did each process in alignment, or following the reading, if that makes sense. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to turn over the first card, which is going to represent the first stage. So this is going to be what your shadow looks like, what it's manifesting as, the negative feelings or beliefs that you are holding that you might not want to acknowledge, okay? And again, disclaimer, trigger warning, this is probably going to bring up some negative emotions for you, so make sure that you are really committed to going through this process. If you're watching this video, again, this is not going to be a light reading, okay? We're really going to be diving deep here. So I'm going to turn over the first card, and I'm going to pull a couple of cards for clarification, and then I'm going to explain again the process that you're going to do with this first stage, okay? So the first stage that I have for you, group 1, the first card is Temperance, okay? So I'm going to draw a couple of cards for clarification. So this is what your shadow is showing up as. I have some clarification, a couple of cards. Oops. Okay. Okay, one more card. Okay. So, you have Temperance, which is clarified by the Page of Batons, or Wands, and Strength in reverse. Okay. So, with this Temperance card, I'm getting a sense of a kind of tug-of-war that is occurring between two parts of yourself, where it feels like your hands are tied and it feels like you've been forced to dilute yourself, because Temperance can talk about kind of diluting substances, or like tempering, like balancing, substances. And so it feels like you have not been given the permission to really embody your whole self. It feels like you have to dilute parts of yourself in order for people to want to be with you. And it seems like there's a frustration because it feels like you can't really win. You can't really get the connection that you're looking for because no one really knows you. It's like they only know this tempered, dialed down version of you. With the Page of Batons, yeah, it's like you've had to turn your power upside down. Like, it almost, to me, I don't know why it looks like this to me, but it looks like he's like, this baton is upside down. Like, it looks like it's supposed to be the other way around to me. So it's like you, in order to feel accepted by others, it's like you have to turn your power upside down. Like, you have to deny yourself of your true power. You have to deny yourself of your whole truth, is what it feels like. And with this Strength in reverse, yeah, it's like you it feels like you don't feel like people see your strength. I feel like you do have a lot of strength and resilience because you've had to put up this armor for so long, because you've had to dial yourself down for so long, and deny your truth for so long. It feels like there's a lot of things that you do where you are kind of giving up your opinions in order to blend in. Like you don't really have a sense of your personal truth when you are like with other people. So it might seem like other people perceive you as weak or perceive you as not being strong. So there's definitely a shadow here of feeling weak, or this fear of being perceived as weak, or bad or wrong because of your own opinions, because of your own perspectives. And it's like you're trying to be strong and be what other people want you to be, is what I'm getting here. But it feels like you're really denying your truth. So I'm gonna draw one of these cards for just a little bit more detail here. So what is some more information on their shadow? Okay. Well, okay, that's a lot. Okay. I'll take both of these. Okay. So the cards that came out are this one, which is Sun, and this one, which is Joy. So with the Sun card, and again, this is Sun, S-O-N, as in a child, that is a boy, and Joy, which also has, interesting, it looks like a picture of a mother and son on here. So it feels like there's some shame around not being the child that you feel like your parents wanted, right? So I don't know if you identify as a woman or a man or something else, but with this Sun card, there are some kind of expectations tied to the masculine aspects of you, okay, that you feel shame about. So it could be that you feel shame around your divine masculine energy, if you want to put it that way. So we all have masculine and feminine qualities in us. So whether you are, a female identified or male identified, there could be a shame around aspects of your masculinity, or your divine masculine qualities. It could be that for some of you who are women, it might be that you feel like your parents wanted a son and that you couldn't be what they wanted you to be. For some of you, that could just be a possibility. For some of you, it could be that you couldn't live up to some expectation that was placed on you as a child that, again, has something to do with some kind of idea around your masculine qualities. Okay, if you are a man, it could be some idea about not being man enough, Again, these are just some possibilities, but something to do with expectations of you as a child that it's like you felt like you were kind of powerless to meet. And with this joy card, again, it's like you learned that in order to have joy, you had to make someone else happy. So the shadow here is, I can't be happy unless I give up my identity. If you look up at this card, these, I don't know if you can see, but these actually look like fingerprints here. Like these little things are fingerprints. So that's about identity. So this is a codependency kind of issue here, where you feel like you have to give up your true identity in order to be loved, right? And so the shadow here is codependency. It's diluting yourself. This fear that if you were to show your full self, if you were to show your full strength of what you can do, that people would be terrified of you. That's what I'm getting here with this strength card. It's like you're afraid that if people see what you are really capable of, that they would be terrified of you, because there's something that you've been made to feel shame about that is tied to, again, some kind of masculine quality within you that you've been made to feel a lot of shame about. So masculine qualities, divine masculine qualities, could be qualities about leadership, about being, having power. It's a forward moving energy, right? So it could be anything relating to that energy, or anything even relating to the societal idea of what masculinity is, which is very different from what we call divine masculinity. But either way, there is a shadow relating to that aspect, okay? And it is this fear that if you embody the truth of that aspect, that people would be terrified of you. And so you have to dilute the hell out of that and make sure that no one knows the full truth of what you can do. But the thing is, like, this is your strength. Like, you have so much power here, but you have just turned it completely upside down, right? So there's a real disowning of your power, because you believe that in order to be loved, you have to temper yourself, you have to dilute yourself for other people, okay? So if that resonates with you, which I hope it does, I mean, I feel for you if it does. I don't want to say I hope it does, as in I hope that you are suffering in this way, but I hope that this is helpful for you. So the first step, again, if you watched the beginning part of this video, the first exercise that I'm going to invite you to do, and of course you have free will, you can decide whether or not you want to do this, but the first exercise that I'm going to ask you to do is whatever emotions this is bringing up for you right now, I want you, and I would suggest that you pause the video to do this, unless you really just want to wait until the end, you can do it then. But if you want to do it now, you can pause the video and you can get a piece of paper, and I want you to just purge all of the feelings, all of the thoughts that are coming up for you with this awareness of this tendency you have to dilute yourself and to deny your own power and your own strength. So whatever that is bringing up for you, I want you to just sit down with the intention to let your subconscious just kind of purge itself out. This is the shadow dump exercise, I like to call it. So you're just gonna let your shadow take a dump. That sounds really gross, but you're just gonna let it purge out of you, okay? So it's just kind of like a vent. You're just writing anything and everything down that you're maybe afraid to say out loud, afraid anyone else would even know that you're thinking about. You want to write that down, okay? And at the end of this process, you have the option to either burn that piece of paper, or you can burn another piece of paper where you are going to kind of summarize what you said in that paper. So you're going to find that kind of core negative belief or negative feeling, and you're going to sum that up in like a word or a phrase, and you're going to write that down on a separate piece of paper and burn that. So that's if you want to keep a record of this process and you don't want to burn the evidence of you doing this process, then you can do that and just write that kind of summarized negative belief on another piece of paper, and you're going to burn that, okay? And like I said in the beginning part of this video, when you are burning it, it is to signify the beginning of this transmutation process that is going to take place, wherein this aspect of you that is unwanted is going to become an aspect that is wanted. So when you are burning this, it is not to push this aspect of you away. It's the opposite. It's to signify that you are releasing the shame and releasing the resistance around this part of you so that you can exalt it to its highest state, okay? So that's your intention when you're doing this burning thing, okay? Just want to make that clear. So if you want to do that now, pause the video and do that process and then come back. Otherwise, we will go to the next stage of the process, okay? Okay. Okay, so next card, represents the second stage of alchemy, which is the blackening stage, the whitening stage. So this is the purification stage. So this, we're going to see what the root cause of this shadow is. What is the vulnerability behind this? And I feel like we already kind of touched on it a little bit with these two cards, but we're going to get some more information on that. So what we have is the Wheel of Fortune. So like I did with the first one, I'm going to draw two cards to clarify. Oops. Okay, well, that's too many cards. I want two cards. Okay. One more card, please. Okay. So, you have the Wheel of Fortune, which is clarified by the Knight of Batons and the King of Coins. So, with the Wheel of Fortune, there was not much of an allowance for you to have a transient sort of self. Like, there wasn't an allowance for you to change. With this Wheel of Fortune, I'm seeing this kind of cycle of selves, right? This cycle of going through a phase, trying something out, going through another phase. It's like that wasn't allowed for you. As a child, you weren't allowed to change. So I feel like you actually don't really have a stable sense of what your identity is because you were never allowed this stage of exploration of kind of like playing and pretend and seeing, like kids like to play a lot, right? They like to play and try on different identities. And it seems like you never were really allotted that stage, right? And so this feeling that you have of like, I can't own my power, it's because there's some child aspect of you that never really got to explore some of these aspects. And with the Knight of Batons, here, Knight of Batons, this could be relating to something with sexuality as well. There could be a shame with that. A shame around not allowing yourself to explore sexuality. Maybe you were shamed a lot for having sexuality as a kid. And again, this kind of relates to this Sun card. This divine masculinity is about, is about sexuality, whereas divine femininity is sensuality, is a little different. But so that's a component of that. So this could be, actually it's interesting because you had the Page of Batons in the first one, right? And look, what did I say? That this is like upside down, like he's holding this upside down, and this one, look, it's like right side up. See? So the Page of Batons is your shadow, where you've had to deny this aspect of yourself, which I'm thinking it could be related to sexuality. You've had to deny this aspect of yourself, right? And if it's not sexuality, it could be anything, again, relating to that divine masculine or that masculine quality. So yeah, it's like you were kind of made to feel shame for that because you weren't allowed the process of exploring that and going through the cycles with that. Okay? And with the King of Coins, yeah, it's like you want to just be, you want that, that physical, like, okay, coins relate to the physical realm. You want to feel fulfilled and successful and have this abundance in this physical domain, right? And that comes from this process of allowing this exploration, this up and down, this changing, the cycles, right? That will naturally come out of that. But, so, what you're really wanting is just an allowance to have all of the different things that you want, an allowance to be this powerful and have all of these different experiences, all of these different, these different, physical things, like even material things. Maybe you weren't allowed to have, maybe there's some shame around money, like I'm not allowed to have this, I can't have this. Maybe you weren't allowed to fully explore these aspects of yourself because there was a lack of resources, and so you weren't allowed to explore your passions, because the batons also have to do with passion. You weren't allowed to explore what you're passionate about, and what you're really wanting is just the ability to do that, just the abundance ability to do that. You want some kind of resource that's kind of this embodiment of this divine masculine abundant man, to allow you to go for those things, right? So what this inner child aspect is needing is an allowance to play, to explore, right? That really feels like what this aspect is needing in order to discover what your identity is, okay? Because that's what with this Knight of Baton, it's like, this is, when you find what you're passionate about, that's how you're going to find your identity, okay? So now that we have kind of discovered some of these underlying things behind the shadow aspect, I want you to now do the second stage of this process. So this is going to be the stage where you're going to write 2 letters. So you're going to write 1 letter to your inner child and 1 from your inner child to you. And you can decide what order you want to do that in. Okay, just intuitively, whatever feels right to you is what you should do. And you're going to sit down, again, like with the first one, with the intention of letting your subconscious say what it needs to say through the inner child, if that's what you're starting with, in which case you will write from that perspective, and you're going to write from your inner child to you. So you're going to just you're trying to understand what this inner child wants you to know, okay? And after that, or if you want to start with your adult self, you will write a letter from your adult self to your inner child. I feel like, having done this myself, I kind of recommend starting with the inner child, but intuitively you can decide which feels best for you, okay? So I want you to do that process, write a letter from your inner child to your adult self, and a letter from your adult self to your inner child. And again, it doesn't have to be a letter, it can be anything else you want to create, but still with that intention of inner child to adult and adult to inner child. And so that's what you're doing. So you're writing from the perspective of this child that was not allowed to explore, not allowed to play, not allowed to be sexual if you were shamed for having a sexuality, not allowed to have abundance, whatever this is triggering for you specifically, that's what you're going to write from the perspective of. Okay? So I want you to, if you want to do this now, pause this video and do that process, and then we'll come back. Okay? Okay, so now that you've done that process, I'm going to turn over the third card. This is the yellowing stage. This is the exciting stage. This is where we're finding the gold in the shadow. So what is the gift inherent in the experience of having no identity, feeling codependent, feeling like you can't be yourself, disidentifying from your power? What is the gift inherent in all of this, right? The gift inherent in the part that you've denied from, which is that power, which is that that masculine quality, right? So we have the Four of Cups. So I'm going to clarify this with a couple of cards, but I will start saying right now that I feel like the gift is going to be, you're going to have a lot more emotional stability. Oops. You have the King of Cups reversed. Oh, okay. One more card, please. Okay. And we have the Ten of Cups reversed. Wow, a lot of cups. Okay, so yeah, this part of you, this masculine part that you've disidentified from, or this power, this passion that you've disidentified from, your true essence, I'm just going to call it that. This is your true essence, your true identity, okay? The gift inherent in it is that you are going to have so much more of an understanding of your emotions and how to regulate them, right? Like, this part of you has access to your emotional truth and has access to your sense of emotional stability and like emotional well-roundedness. Okay, and the King of Cups reversed, you're gonna know how to heal other people with this also. Like, you're going to know what the exalted form of the shadow qualities of this masculine energy are, because, and again, I do feel like there's an association with masculine energy for this group specifically with this particular shadow, and it does not matter if you're male or female, just want to reiterate that. But there's an association that this shadow is somehow masculine or related to masculine energy, okay? But, so with the King of Cups reversed, it's like you maybe are aware of how these qualities of masculinity that you think are so like bad or wrong, whatever these qualities are of owning your power, owning your sexuality, owning your passions, being a leader, right? All of these qualities, you're maybe aware of the shadow side of them, and that's why it's become shadows, because you have shame around it, because you're aware of maybe the ways in which those things could be bad. It's like this association that having power means that you're going to hurt someone or something along those lines. But with this King of Cups reversed, again, we're in this masculine energy, but you're going to learn how to bring healing to those who are stuck in that state of that shadow aspect. You're going to learn how to relate to the negative side of this quality so that you can see the gift in other people. It's like your perspective of the world at large is totally going to change, because you're going to have compassion for the people you thought you could never have compassion for, okay, with this King of Cups reversed. So the people that other people tend to like shame in your life as you know it have been the people that mirror this aspect of you, right? That mirror this masculine aspect of you. The more that you can reclaim that, the more you are going to be able to see the value of this in other people. And you are going to become very powerful with all of this cup energy. Your ability to tap into your intuition and your emotion is going to be so strong, okay? With this 10 of Cups in reverse. Yeah, it's like all of this energy that is releasing, this emotional energy, this pent-up emotional energy that you have had, when it releases, it's like you have so much power, you can create anything, you know, like with all of this emotional energy that you have kept, and all this is all creative energy too, like sexual energy, like this is all about creation, okay? So once you let these cups release, girl, like, or boy, I'm just saying girl is gender neutral, but like once you let this release, it's like you will have so much power, okay? And it's going to be power that you feel good about, because you know how to create the life you want. You know how to make yourself fulfilled. Like, you know how to help other people. You know, like, you're not going to be afraid anymore. It's the thing. You're not going to be afraid of these masculine qualities that other people in your life thus far have been afraid of. You're like, I'm not afraid of that. I am that, and I feel good about myself, you know? So yeah, you're gonna learn how to reclaim the emotional aspect that is needed, you know, within this part that has this association with masculinity, right? Because, and again, with society, we tend to think that masculine, you know, to be more masculine, you have to be unemotional. But you're going to be like, hell no, you don't. I am going to bring all of my emotions with me, you know, as I reclaim my power. And I am going to bring my vulnerability with me as I reclaim my power. And I am going to bring about understanding and compassion for the world in a very powerful, like, leader type of way. Okay, so that is really what I'm seeing for you, for the gold that's in the shadow aspect. Okay, so for the next process, this is going to be you on your own making a list of reasons to approve of this part of you, reasons to approve of this part of you that has power. Okay, so whatever this is coming up for you, if it's related to sexuality, masculinity, abundance, creativity, any of these things, I'm getting all kinds of these energies in this reading, any of those things, you're going to, whichever one of those you feel the most shame about, that is what you're going to choose, right? And you are going to make a list, write down all the things that you can think of reasons why this is a good thing, reasons to approve of it. And you're not lying to yourself, okay? You are being as genuine as possible. So this is going to be a bit of a brainstorming activity, but I promise you can find some things, okay? Like some of the things I just said. So whatever that's bringing up for you, let yourself brainstorm even more ideas of ways in which this part of you is actually a good thing. And you're going to make a list as long as you possibly can, okay? That's the next step. So if you want to pause the video and do that now, then do that. Okay, so now we will move on to the final stage. This is the reddening stage. So this is the stage where you are now becoming this integrated, exalted form of this part of you. So this is very exciting. So for this stage, we have the Queen of Swords, which is in reverse. So I'm going to draw a couple more cards for clarification. Ooh, okay. Oh, I love this. Okay. And you have the Knight of Cups. And one more card, please. Okay. And oh my god, look at this! Look at this! you have the Ace of Wands. Ah! Oh my god, sorry. This is so cool. Look at this. Look at this. You have the Page of Batons, and remember, you're afraid of your power, and then here it's like the vulnerability is like you just want to be allowed to have your power, and now look at this. You're fucking owning it. Like, yes. Yes. Okay, sorry. I'm just getting really excited. So, what is the exalted form of this? It is you owning this power. Owning this power, mama. You are like, okay, let me calm down a little. Okay. With the Knight of Cups, also, like, let me just tell you, Knight of Cups is my favorite card of the tarot. My favorite card, okay? I love the Knight of Cups. So again, with this King of Cups reversed, it's like, this is kind of like the exalted form of that. It's like, you are a healer. I have a feeling a lot of people in this group are people who have some kind of gifts that they're meant to give the world because they understand this part of themselves more, like, or yourself more. So there is something really important you're meant to give this world, okay? Really important. With the Queen of Swords reversed, okay, you are going to learn how to be compassionate with your own thoughts. So this stage is all about what are things that you can do to embody this, right? So this is about the practical steps. So there's a need to be more compassionate with your mind, okay? And with the Queen of Swords, Queen, again, is that feminine energy, which is about that compassion. So you need to have compassion, for your mind, which I feel like you have a lot of resistance to because you have all of these negative thoughts. So you need to begin to have more of a compassion for your own thoughts, your own mind, okay? So something you can do as like a practical step, maybe practice mindfulness if that feels good to you, do a little bit of meditation where the intention is not to escape from your thoughts, but to accept them as a part of you, okay? Yeah, so whatever you can do to kind of reclaim your own mental power as well. So whatever you can do that stimulates your mind in a healthy way, where it is coming from a very authentic place, and you're kind of reclaiming this mental aspect of you as well. So I feel like you have a very smart, I feel like you're very smart, like whoever is watching this, like you're very intelligent and you have a lot to offer. Like your mind has so much in it. And so I feel like you might need to do some things to kind of give your mind what it needs, let it explore. Again, with this Wheel of Fortune, it's like you need allowance to explore new ideas in a compassionate way, okay? So because I feel like you haven't been doing that, which is why this is in reverse. Maybe you've been having ideas for things you want to do or things you want to explore, but you haven't let yourself do them. So that's what you need to do. You need to follow your passions. You need to explore, follow your passion, okay? That's really what this card is about. So whatever you can do to, find what you're passionate about and just like own that. Like there is nothing wrong with your power. Like there is nothing wrong with your power, okay? And the more that you can just hold on to that and grasp that and reclaim that for yourself, like you are going to be so amazing and magnificent. Like you have so much to give the world here, okay? So I really feel like the exalted form just involves you really embodying this power. So what can you do to allow yourself to explore these different interests that you have? What are some things that your heart just really wants to do, and do them? So I'm going to draw one more card that's going to be an animal spirit card to further clarify or just kind of give you an idea of what this embodied aspect is. Oh, look at that! It's the lion. Oh my god. Oh, this is so beautiful. I'm gonna cry. The lion. So, like, look, the lion is the most powerful motherfucker in the animal kingdom. There's a reason they call him the king, right? The Lion King. Oh my god, this is so beautiful. Like, I feel like lions represent this divine masculine too. Like, this is the exalted form, okay? It's a lion. You are so powerful. You have so much power, and you have the discernment of when and how to use it, okay? And you are just majestic, right? Like, that is just what the majesty in this card. So you can also use this lion energy, this lion spirit, connect with that, okay? Do some meditations or something with the energy of a lion. That will really help you kind of get into this embodied aspect, okay? So the last activity for you to do here is make a list of the physical, practical steps that you are going to take to embody this power, okay? So you want to make a list of all of the things that you are going to do to meet the need of this inner child that just wants to explore your identity, explore your passions. You're going to make a list of ways that you can meet that need practically every day, okay? You're going to brainstorm as many as you can think of, and you're going to commit to that. That is your goal here, okay? So please do that after you finish this video. And that is going to be how you are going to become this lion aspect. Look at it. It's so fucking beautiful. Oh my God. I love this group. I love this reading. I hope that you liked it too. If you're interested in more of this, please check out the description. I'm going to be offering some readings on my Etsy that are very similar to this kind of shadow work style reading. So if you want more on a one-on-one style, please check that out. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this helped you. I really hope that you found some healing through this, and I thank you so much. And I am just so grateful that you clicked on this video, and so grateful that you are undergoing this process with me. So I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week, and namaste. Okay, so group 2, you guys chose this piece of copper. So this is really good for transmutation, very purifying, like very intense, kind of like has an energy of like breaking things apart. When I meditate with this is what I feel like it just really kind of dissolves anything that needs to be dissolved. So group 2. So hopefully you watched the beginning of this video where I kind of explained how this process was going to go. If you did not, I am going to try to give a bit of an abridged version throughout this reading, but it would probably behoove you to watch that just to understand it a little bit more in depth, okay? So what we are doing today is shadow alchemy, which is the term that I have coined for this. So this is a form of shadow work. It's just my own take on it, a way to do it using the tarot. So what I have for you here, I have a pile of 4 cards, which are each going to represent the 4 stages of alchemy. So alchemy, again, is the process of transmuting one thing into another thing. So traditionally, this was done with metals. So it was the process of taking a metal like lead and transmuting it into a metal like gold. So the same can be done in terms of the shadow. So what is unwanted within your own self can be transmuted into what is wanted by finding the qualities that are already present in it that you can then exalt to a higher state. Okay? Okay. So, for each of these 4 stages of alchemy, I am going to be giving you the opportunity to do a process, which is going to be a writing process for each one that will correspond to that stage. So, I recommend using this video in the following way. So you choose your pile, which you've already done, and so I will then give the reading for the first stage, and then if I was you and I was doing it the way that I would want to do it, I would pause the video and then do the process that I will tell you when we get to that stage. I will pause the video, do that process, and then come back to the video. Okay? So each stage corresponds to one of these processes that I'm going to tell you about when we get to this stage, okay? And it's just a writing process, okay? So, again, disclaimer, this is not a lighthearted reading, okay? We're going to be diving deep, so this is probably going to be triggering. You're going to move through some emotions with the intention, of course, of integrating these aspects of yourself to become whole and to become healed. So, if this is something you're interested in, then please keep watching. But if it is not, if you don't think you're ready for this, that's perfectly fine. Just want to give that disclaimer, okay? So the first card we have here represents the first stage of alchemy, which is the blackening stage. So this is the stage where you are becoming aware of your shadow. So this is, you're becoming aware of this unwanted aspect of yourself. What ways does it show up? What does it look like? How does it manifest? Okay, so that's our first card here. And the first card we have is Justice. There. Okay. So, I'm going to be drawing a couple of clarifying cards. Sorry if my background is kind of noisy. I'm sitting outside on my balcony, which I thought was a good idea earlier, and now I'm starting to second guess myself because got my neighbors playing music and people riding motorcycles, so hopefully you can hear okay with the headphones. I'm going to pray that this works out. So I'm going to draw a couple of clarifying cards for this Justice. So again, this is ways in which your shadow has been showing up. What is it that you feel is unwanted? Okay. Another clarifier. Okay. So again, we have Justice, and we have it clarified by the Queen of Cups and by the Four of Wands in reverse. Okay. So, with the Justice card, there's definitely a sense of unfairness that you feel. There is this aspect of you that can be very judgmental, I feel like. Very judgmental about what is right and what is wrong. Okay? So I feel like this shadow is really kind of this like black and white thinking of what is right and what is wrong. And you feel very strongly that you need to, fight for what is right, and you need to punish those who are wrong. There's some kind of punishment I'm picking up on, maybe like a self-punishment that you do to yourself because you think that it is justified, like you're bringing justice to the world if you punish yourself. With the Queen of Cups here, So I feel like you're trying to get a need met through this energy of like needing to prove yourself right. I feel like this is kind of what's coming up with this Justice card. There's a need to like prove yourself right by proving others wrong. But it's really about this need that you're trying to get met, which is this need for validation. Okay. This need for validation. You want someone to kind of nurture your own emotions, fill up your emotional cup. It's like this longing for intimacy, right? So it's a need for validation. But the shadow aspect is coming up because you have a very like kind of harsh black and white, this is right, this is wrong kind of stance, and it's causing you a lot of frustration, I feel like, because it's like you can't even live up to this standard that you've set for like other people, you know. And with this Four of Wands reversed, yeah, it's like this ideal world that you want. It's like you have this ideal world in your head, this like fantasy world where like everything is good and everyone does good things and everything is nice and everything is fair and just, right? That's this fantasy, but it's turned upside down because it's not real, and you know that it's not real. And you know that it's not real because you feel like there's something happened to you that should not have happened. And so there's a lot of anger and, you know, this desire for retribution, this desire to have your cup filled up, this desire to be validated, to be strong in your own feminine qualities. So the feminine qualities of, and when I say feminine, I'm talking about like spiritual, like divine feminine, which is related to emotions, so to like emotional intimacy, intuition. It's the softer energy, right? The yin is the softer energy compared to the yang. So, and it's the receptive energy. Like, look how she is receptive here, but it's like I feel like you have pushed away this part of you that is your divine feminine. It's your receptivity. This is kind of funny. This is kind of like the opposite of what group 1 was, but I feel like this group, the part of you that is just receptive, that is just wanting someone else to meet your emotional needs, that part you have made like so wrong. Like you have made this this receptive energy within you, this desire to receive love from other people, so wrong. And so to compensate for that, it's like you have taken on this energy of like this justice where you're just here trying to prove some people wrong so that you can feel, you know, right. And it's like you're trying to be the ruler over everything in your reality, that you're just trying to like build a fantasy that is not real. You know, it's like you're trying to make up for something that you wish had happened in your past that didn't happen. Okay, I am going to draw one of these cards to see if we can get any more details. Okay. Ugh. Oh wow, okay. So, here's the picture, and the word is loss. Okay, and the picture shows a bottle of painkillers with like some cactus sprouting out of it, some hands and some flowers. Very interesting imagery here. So loss, yeah, like there's this loss of this fantasy. There is a certain way that you wanted your life to go. You know, we all have our fantasy lives that we wish it could have gone that way, right? However, that was not the reality. The reality is that you lost that. You lost this dream life that you wish you could have had. Okay? And so to make up for that, you've been like numbing yourself, You've been trying to numb yourself, and you've been placing this kind of like righteousness on to certain things. Okay, like for instance, if you felt victimized by someone in the past who hurt you, you now feel very like identified with someone who is like, hell-bent on taking down people who hurt other people. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was a victim to someone who did this to me, like now I am not gonna, like, and there's a power and a beauty in like, I'm not gonna stand for this again. I'm not gonna see this happen to anyone else again. But I feel like for you, it's coming from more of a place of resistance, of you not even really wanting to accept what happened to you, and you trying to avoid the feeling of shame that you have around your own divine feminine, around your own receptivity. Because there's a fear that if you step into this receptive energy, you're going to make yourself vulnerable to the same thing that, that gave you this loss. You're going to make yourself vulnerable. And so that's why you have to be in this, this kind of judge position of like, no, right, this is wrong. And I won't, I'm not even going to hear this other person out, because I just know that they're wrong, and everyone like them, they're wrong, and anyone who thinks this way is wrong. And it's like you need to prove yourself right, because there's a reluctance to feel the shame, to feel the sense of personal responsibility that you might have had in a situation. There's a reluctance to see yourself in whoever or whatever hurt you. If you were hurt by something, if you feel like something was lost, and this could have been a loss of a loved one, it could have been a loss of a loved one, or it could have just been the loss of some ideal life that you wish you could have had. So now that there's a reluctance to have compassion for whoever took that thing away from you. And so instead there's this anger and this feeling of injustice, and it's like, I just need to make things right. So I feel like you might be someone who is very like identified with this idea of justice. Like you might even want to like be a lawyer or something. Like you're very much like on this this path of just wanting justice in the world, and that's it's a very noble thing. However, the truth of how you feel is that you're denying this aspect of you, which is this receptive kind of divine feminine energy, this very soft, vulnerable energy. You're like, hell no, that is what led to me losing all of this shit. I can't have that. Okay, so this is kind of what you're not willing to look at, what you're disapproving of. Okay, so with that being said, the first exercise that I want you to do for this stage of the process, so this is the blackening stage, which is, again, kind of becoming aware of the shadow. So this process, I call it the shadow dump. So it's basically a purge of all of your feelings and your thoughts relating to this shadow, okay? So this shadow of feeling shame around divine feminine aspects of vulnerability, softness, receptivity, this fear around, or this feeling of injustice that you feel, this feeling of loss, that of whatever it feels like that you lost. This is just going to be a purge of all of that, everything that you are afraid of, everything that you have been keeping inside. So I just want you to set the intention to just kind of let your subconscious speak through you, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of paper and you're just going to purge it all out, okay? Just everything you can think of, okay? That, feels related to this. Just purge it out, okay? And then when you're done with this, you're going to do a burning ritual, okay? So you have two options here. You can either burn that piece of paper, which you just wrote everything on, okay? And make sure you do it safely. Or if you want to keep that piece of paper, because if you want to kind of keep a record of this process and of, where you started and where you ended up, if you don't want to burn that specific piece of paper, you can take another piece of paper and you can kind of sum up in one word or a phrase the core belief or core fear or feeling that is present within that shadow dump that you just did. So whatever core belief or core fear is present there, you can just write that down, and then that will be the thing that you burn. Okay, so when you burn it, it is to signify the beginning of this process of transmuting that which has caused you pain into something that can make you whole. Okay, so again, this burning process is not to expel this energy from you because it's so bad and it's so wrong. Rather, it is to release your resistance to it. It is to release your hold on it so that you can kind of open up your energy around it so that you can see the ways in which it might not be your full truth. I hope that makes sense. If you want a better explanation, you can watch the beginning of this video. Like I said, I kind of went a bit more into depth about that. But the intention is to release your grip on this fear, okay? It's not to make it bad or wrong or push it away from you, but it is to soften and signify a beginning of this transformation, okay? So that's what the burning ritual is supposed to do. So if you want to wait until after the entire process to burn, you can do that, or you can do it right after you do the shadow dump, okay? If you're going to burn the actual piece of paper that you're writing on, I would probably wait until after, so just in case you want to look back at that piece of paper throughout the process, it might help you. But use your discretion, do what feels good to you. But if you would like to do that now, then pause the video here and do that process, okay? And then come back. Okay, so now that you've done that, it's time for us to move into the next stage, which is the whitening stage. So this is the stage of the purification, which means this is the stage of finding the root cause of the shadow, which is the innocence behind the shadow, the vulnerability behind the shadow. So this is all about the inner child, okay? So the card that we have is a Page of Rods, okay? I'm going to draw a couple of clarifiers on that. Excuse me. Clarifiers on this Page of Rods, please. Clarifiers on this Page of Rods. Okay. Whoa, okay. Okay, hold on. Okay, so we have the Death card as one clarifier. One more clarifier, please. Oh my god. No. Okay, I said one more clarifier. Can we get one? The heck? Can we get one more clarifier, please? Okay. So you have the Page of Rods, which is clarified by death and by the Seven of Rods, or Wands. Okay. So what is the vulnerability underneath the shadow? Okay, interesting that each figure here is holding on to a rod of some sort. Even death is holding on to a rod. And here, okay. So with death, again, with loss, right? So I feel like there is a core kind of vulnerable self here that is afraid of death, afraid of this loss, right? What does it mean if I lose things? It means that I can't ever have them. Like, there's this belief, like, if I lose something, then it's like, why did I even have it to begin with? You know? So there's this perception, this core, like, vulnerable self that just feels like it can't make sense of the loss. Okay? With the Page of Rods here, okay, yeah, so I feel like there is a reluctance to see your power and see your responsibility in a situation that was unwanted for you, okay? Yeah, it's like this inner child aspect almost had to have too much responsibility too soon. The page is kind of like a childlike energy usually. But with this page, it's almost like the way that she's kind of dressed up almost feels like she is trying to play pretend in a way. So it feels like you had to play a role that you didn't want to play. You had to have more responsibility than you felt like you deserved to have. It's like you had to grow up very fast, okay? You had to grow up very fast because of this loss. It's like you lost more than just whatever the situation was. Like if it was a person or whatever it was, a divorce that your parents went through, whatever it could have been, it feels more than just that loss. Like it feels like you lost your entire like childhood. Like you lost something that felt very precious to you. And it's like you had to grow up very fast and start to play this role very, very fast. And so having that power, you know, because you were kind of forced into a responsibility that you didn't really want to have, now it's like, responsibility is just not something you ever want to go towards again, right? But responsibility is power, okay? That's what is not being seen here. If you never have take responsibility for things, then you never have power because you're always depending on other people. But there's this this fear of what taking responsibility would mean. And with the Seven of Wands, yeah, 7 is all about kind of getting into alignment with your true self. So, okay. So because I'm picking up on the fact that this trauma that happened led you to disidentify from a feminine aspect of yourself, right? And with this page here, this page has a more feminine energy. I feel like there's a need to reclaim the power in both the feminine and the masculine within yourself. With this Seven of Wands, this is a very masculine energy here. So there's a need, it's like in order to kind of reconcile this pain, there's a need to recognize where you fit in to this picture. I feel like there was something that you were taken advantage of. And I feel like this could have been by a more masculine energy. Which is kind of what led to this having too much responsibility, growing up too fast. Okay. Or it could be that you lost someone who had a more masculine energy, who was very close to you. Okay. For some of you, this could be a father figure. But whoever had this power, like, either it was an instance of them using this power against you, right? Which then forced you to kind of have to grow up too fast and take too much responsibility, or it was like they had this power and they were using it to kind of care for you in some way, but you lost this resource of being taken care of, whether it was a person or a thing that made you feel safe. You lost that, and then you had to like try to provide that for yourself. Okay. So there's a real sense of loss of something, you know, and it's like, so this death, remember how I said that there's like these rods represent power. Okay. So it was like this power was taken away from you. Okay. Like whoever had this power to meet your needs, right? That was lost. So, you know, when we're children, we're dependent on our caregivers to meet our needs, right? And so you were dependent on, you know, a figure like this, perhaps who was more masculine. So it could have been a father figure, or, you know, it doesn't have to be, it could be anyone, but you were dependent on some sort of force or figure to meet your needs. And then that was like taken away from you, or you got taken advantage of in the process. So you still feel like you lost some power through that. And so now this Page of Rods is like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, I had this provided to me, it got lost, and now I don't know how to provide this for myself. I don't know what this is. You're afraid of this power because you don't know what it is, you don't know what it means, you don't know how to use it. So you're afraid of this responsibility that you now have for yourself. Okay? So the vulnerable aspect here, which I kind of want to draw more of these cards just to see if we can get any more detail here. But I really feel like the vulnerable aspect is this fear of not having anyone else you can depend upon to meet your needs. Okay. Anything else that we can clarify with here? Anything else? One card, please. Okay. So we have this picture, and the word is stranger. Okay, yeah. So someone became a stranger to you. Like, you were estranged from someone, like someone who you depended on. Okay. Someone you depended on to meet your needs either was taken away from you by some life circumstance, could literally be death, or it could be just some life circumstance. Again, could be like a divorce or something. It was taken away from you, or you depended on them to meet your needs and they failed in some way, or they took advantage of you in some way and kind of became a stranger to you, like you didn't even recognize them anymore. Okay? And so you felt estranged from this person or this force that you depended on to meet your needs, which then led you to feel overwhelmed by this responsibility that you now have. And you almost feel like a stranger to yourself now. It's like you don't know how to trust yourself. You don't know who you are because you had to, you never got a chance to figure it out. You never had the safety to figure it out. Okay, so you just kind of had to be an adult, and you never got a chance to discover what your actual identity is. Okay, so you feel estranged from who you actually are and from this power that was there to meet your needs. It's like, am I a stranger to you? That's what it feels like. Like this child aspect is like, suddenly I'm a stranger to this person who was supposed to meet my needs in some way. So I hope that is kind of resonating a little. Whatever this is bringing up for you, we're now going to move into the second exercise. So this exercise is writing, having a letter correspondence with your inner child, okay? So the inner child, that aspect that I was just talking about, that feels like suddenly the person who's supposed to meet their needs is not doing that for some reason, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to write 2 letters, okay? And you can decide which order you want to write them, but you're going to write 1 letter that is from the perspective of your inner child writing to you. The other letter is going to be from your perspective writing to the inner child, okay? And again, you can decide what order you want to do this in. Just go with what intuitively makes the most sense to you, okay? And you're going to write both of those letters, okay? And if you don't want to do it in letter form, there's so many different creative things you can do. You can draw a picture, write a poem, sing a song, make a collage. You can be as creative with this as you want. But the most straightforward way would just be to write a letter. So this is the part now where if you are following along with this, you're going to pause the video and you're going to do that, okay? So you're going to sit down with the intention of embodying that inner child aspect and let your subconscious kind of come through you to write that down, okay? Some people, when they're doing these kind of like channeling practices, like to write with their non-dominant hand because that's more connected to your subconscious mind. I don't like to do that because it's just illegible if I try to do that. I don't have any control dexterity in that hand. So it's up to you. You can just do it with your dominant hand if you want. But you're basically going to try to embody that child aspect when you're writing from the child perspective to write to you. And then when you're just writing from your adult self, you're writing from yourself to the inner child, okay? And you just say whatever feels natural to say. There's no right or wrong here, okay? So that's the next step. So pause this video, do that, and then once you do that, come back, okay? Okay, so now we move into the third stage of the process. So this is probably my favorite stage. So this is the stage of the yellowing stage. So this is the part of alchemy where in order to transmute one substance into another substance, you have to find a similarity between the two substances. So you have to find, if you're trying to transform lead into gold, you have to find the qualities of gold that are already present within the lead. Okay? So the same goes for the shadow. If you're trying to bring transmute the shadow into light, you got to find the light that's already in the shadow. You got to find the gold that's already there. So that's what this stage is about. So for this stage, we have the King of Swords in reverse. Okay. I'm going to clarify this with a couple more cards. Okay. So, we have the King of Swords reversed, which is clarified by the Six of Swords in reverse and the Two of Cups in reverse. Okay. So, what is the gold in the shadow? It's chilly out here. Okay. King of Swords reversed. So with this Six of Swords reversed, you have an opportunity now to take this loss, right? To take this loss and let it move you into deeper waters. Sorry, that's just the phrase that is coming to my mind. Let it move you into a new direction, okay? There was a way that you wanted your life to go. Remember with the Four of Wands in reverse, there was a fantasy that you wanted to happen that didn't happen. So what happened was you tried to sail one way in your life and you got met with this loss, okay? What that did is it now gives you an opportunity to explore so much more of this ocean that you weren't even aware of before, because it's like before you only had the path in front of you. You know, you weren't even aware of this ocean of opportunity that you had. So this loss is really meant to teach you about the power of choice and about the power of emotion, the power of just the immense potential that you have to create something from this process of death. So remember that we have this death card, and death is about rebirth, okay? Death is alchemy. Like, death is alchemy. Death is about dying so that you can be reborn. Something had to die because you were meant to explore deeper terrains here. You were meant to understand something deeper about explore something deeper about human existence, about emotions, okay? So there's an opportunity to really explore more depth than most people even like are aware of here, okay? And with this Two of Cups in reverse, yeah, you have an opportunity to unite these aspects, this masculine and this feminine aspect within yourself. You have the ability to unite and to create an intimacy that is much more than what most people are capable of creating, okay? It's like you see both the light and the shadow that is present within both of these energies of divine feminine and divine masculine, the energy of receptivity and the energy of forward movement. You know that forward movement can sometimes lead to being taken advantage of. However, you know that it also is where your power comes from. You know that receptivity can sometimes lead to being vulnerable in ways you don't want to be, but that's also where your power comes from. It's like you understand these energies a lot more now. You have the opportunity to really understand them a lot deeper than other people can, right? It's like your idea of what is right and wrong between these energies has now been turned upside down, and you have to rediscover what that is. Like, what even are these energies? Like, what does it mean to be divine feminine, divine masculine? Like, what does it mean to receive? What does it mean to give? You have to, really understand relationships on a much deeper level than other people do, It's like it's in reverse because it's like it's not going to be easy for you, but it's not easy for you because you're meant to understand it on a deeper level. Okay, and this King of Swords reversed. You are meant to understand the power of your thoughts in creating your reality. You're meant to understand that everything that you're afraid of was just a reflection that was painful, that you didn't want to see, right? But once you can see that, once you can look through the weeds and look at this blade that you're so afraid of and see the reflection, then you'll see that it is beautiful and it is divine and there's nothing wrong with it. And that it is actually your power, because if you can see how your own thoughts led to the circumstances in your life that you wish that you could have not experienced, if you can see that, then you can take that power back and you can recreate the life that you do want to live now without having to change what already happened. You can use the past. You can use the terrible loss that you endured and use that to explore something deeper, right? It's like turning this pain into a sort of purpose for you, where you now understand on a much deeper level what it means to be a creator. You understand on a much deeper level how your thoughts influence your reality and how you can become a master of that by being willing to look in the mirror, Yeah. And it's like you will understand how to manifest abundance also. Understand what it means to be simultaneously a creator and also be taken care of, because with the Queen of Cups, these are almost, you could say, opposite energies, but they're really not. The Queen of Cups is receptive, and she's all about emotions. The King of Swords is a creator. It's all about thoughts. However, the King of Swords here is almost like being caressed and held by these branches. So you can be a creator and still be held by your own creation. You can create your reality and still allow other people to meet your needs and still allow yourself to be small and vulnerable, to still allow yourself to experience life as if it is something that you have never seen before and you're so curious about it. You don't have to have it all figured out. You can be this really embodied child mind while also at the same time having this wise mind. It's kind of a paradox, but it's really not. The more that you can allow this child aspect of you to receive, to be in the receptive energy and to allow other people to meet your needs, it's like the more that you will realize your own power. Because if you are asking someone else to meet your need, if you are putting yourself in a position where you can have a need met by someone else, where you can be taken care of by someone else, you did that for yourself. They might be the way that it's coming through for you, but you still set it in motion. So you will still feel empowered, but you will also, it won't be that same overwhelming feeling that you had with this Page of Rods of I'm scared of this power. You won't be scared of your power anymore, because you will understand that you can still be taken care of and still receive, even if it was you who put that idea into motion. It's you don't have to be controlling over every aspect of your life. You don't have to control every aspect. You can just set the intention and still allow it to come to you and still reap the benefits of it. Okay? I hope this is making sense. This is all just kind of coming through for me right now. So I hope that this is resonating with you. So the goal to take away here is understanding what it means to be a creator of your reality, and what it means to receive, what it means to have relationships, what it means to receive from others, and what it means to create your life even when the circumstances that you started out with was not what you wanted. Okay? So, I hope that resonates. The next exercise is going to be kind of a continuation of this, finding the gold. So what you are going to do is you are going to make a list of ways in which this loss that you experienced is a good thing, okay? So how can this add to your life? That's the question that you're going to be answering. What is something that I can take from this that can add to my life, okay? And so I don't want you to try to force anything, okay? This is supposed to be something that feels very natural and genuine and authentic. So even if you don't have all of the answers right now, that's okay. But maybe it's just I am now curious about what my life can become, you know? Now that I've accepted this loss, I am curious as to where my life can go from here now that it's not going in the direction that I wanted to. It could be as simple as that. Just that plain curiosity is still an improvement. So whatever you can think of to find approval, to find gratitude for this loss or this traumatic event that you had to endure, write down a list of as many things as you can think of, okay, as long as you can make it, and then we'll move to the final stage. Okay, so if you want to pause the video and do that now, then go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we are ready for the last stage, which is the reddening stage. So this is the stage where what is unwanted is now something that is wanted. So this is the stage of the full integration. It's the embodiment of this aspect. So this is probably the most important stage here, okay? So your card for this is the Six of Coins reversed. So I'm going to draw a couple more clarifiers for this card. It's really interesting though already. Look how we started out with Justice, and then we have the Six of Coins, which has the same justice symbol, or this like balance symbol, but now it's in reverse, which means that you have probably transcended this idea of duality, of right and wrong. Okay, 2 clarifiers, please. Oh shit. Okay, well, here's one. Okay, 1 more clarifier, please. Whoa, okay. 1 more clarifier. Okay. So you have the Six of Coins in reverse, the Chariot, and the Four of Cups. Okay, so yeah. So you started out, I don't know where it is. Where'd it go? Where did the Justice card go? Did I put it back in here? I don't know where the Justice card went, but you started out with, that is crazy. What the hell? Did it fall down? What the hell? Anyway, you started out with Justice. You started out with this anger or this resentment because of this unfairness that you felt. And now you have this Six of Coins in reverse, where now you understand a more elevated understanding of like right and wrong, and you now understand that everyone is just trying to get their needs met in one way or another. You know, that's all anyone is ever trying to do. And you now understand that, and because you understand that, you can now meet your needs in more direct ways. right? You can meet your needs in a way where you don't have to be taking from others, where you don't have to be making someone wrong in order for you to be right, okay? And with the Chariot, yeah, it's like you now, you have this integration of your dark and your shadow side, and you can now forge on ahead with both the wanted and the unwanted. You now can forge on ahead with these swords in your boat. You can forge on ahead with the loss and the grief, and you can still carve out your path, right? This is, again, about this power coming back to you. I'm in charge of my destiny, okay? That's what I'm getting here. And with the Four of Cups, this, again, with this Queen of Cups, this is about this receptivity. It's like you can finally relax. You can finally allow yourself to receive what you want to receive at the same time as you're creating it, at the same time as you are setting the direction that you want to go in, knowing that your needs are going to be provided for because you know what you need to do to get yourself into the place where you can then receive that, okay? So you really understand now that, you know, getting your needs met is not about taking from someone else, that is a very limited understanding, okay? And that this idea of right and wrong is all subjective, and it's all about just people trying to meet their needs. And if you understand your shadow, then you can meet your need in a direct way where you don't have to be taking from someone else. And you can be in this receptive energy and really learn to receive, you know, the gifts of life. Okay? So I'm going to draw one of these animal spirit cards for you that's going to represent this embodied aspect. Ooh, okay. Interesting, we have the hyena here. Ooh, this is very interesting. Look, we have this moon that's just like this half moon, which is like half light and half dark, right? So again, you're really going to understand this embodiment of being both light and dark. It's like you feel more complete, more whole. And with this hyena, I do kind of want to read the description because I'm not that familiar with the hyena card or with the hyena animal. So for this group in particular, I'm going to read that for you. Okay, hyena. It says humor, wit, sarcasm. The hyena personality is a jokester and a crowd pleaser, but below the surface there are unfulfilled dreams to be realized. When the hyena card appears, it's time to reflect on your reliance on sarcasm and humor to express your truth. Are you using jokes to hide old resentments in relationships or to mask things that you feel uncomfortable discussing? What would happen if you took your goals seriously? When in balance, charming, witty, fun to be around. When out of balance, scrappy, petty, suspicious. To bring into balance, sobriety. Interesting. So it is interesting that this actually did come out in reverse. So I feel like you, whereas before you kind of, again with this, it said sobriety. It's like you were kind of numbing yourself from this loss, right? So you might have been using humor as a way to kind of cope with all of this that happened to you. So, but now it's like you've become the exalted form of the hyena because it is in reverse. You've now become the more exalted form of it, where now you can find the lightness and find the humor in the dark places, but you're not avoiding it anymore. You're not avoiding your pain anymore. And you can still allow yourself to go fully forward towards your dreams, okay? So that's really what I'm getting for you guys. So for the last step of this process, this is the most important part, okay? You're going to do one more exercise where you're going to make a list. And this is going to be a list of practical things that you are going to do for yourself, that you're going to commit to doing, that are going to meet the needs of this inner child, which again, for you, is this need to be validated, this need to be taken care of, to have some release of responsibility, right? So you're going to make a list and brainstorm ways that you can meet those needs for that inner child, okay? List of practical things that you are going to do to become this exalted form of this hyena energy that can find the humor, find the lightness in the hard times, but doesn't have to be giving away your power, okay? So, I hope that you understand what I'm saying. So that's the last step, okay? So make a list of all the things that you're going to do, that you're going to commit to become this exalted form, okay? This exalted state, this integrated state, okay? So do that, and that will conclude this process for you, okay? So thank you so much for watching. I hope that this brought you some clarity, brought you some healing. I just am so grateful for you for watching this and for giving me your energy. And if you are interested in more things like this, if you want a private one-on-one reading with me, the information for that will be in the description below. I will be offering some readings that are going to be very similar to this kind of shadow work alchemy focus. So if you want more of an individual reading for that, then please check out the description for that. And thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I will see you again soon. Namaste. Okay, group 3. It is now your turn. So, like the other groups, I'm going to explain in a more brief way what this process is going to be. Again, I really suggest that you watch the beginning part of this video for a more in-depth explanation of this process and what this all means. But as a kind of summary of that, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be doing a form of shadow work, which I am calling shadow alchemy, which is going to be using the 4 stages of alchemy, which is an ancient practice that was thought to be the practice of turning metals such as lead into precious metals such as gold. So it was Carl Jung who kind of discovered the use of this for transforming the psyche. So he used it as a metaphor for the process of shadow work, which is the process of reclaiming the aspects of yourself that you have pushed away so as to make yourself more whole and more healed. So, with that being said, with this process, I have 4 cards here that represent each of the 4 stages of alchemy. So, I'm going to turn over each card in its successive stage, and when we are doing one stage, we're going to be focusing on that stage, and at the end of that stage, I am going to invite you to do a process with me where you will be writing. So it'll be a writing process for each stage that will help to facilitate each of these stages so that you can do this alchemy process with yourself and find healing for this aspect of yourself. So, disclaimer, this is going to be probably emotionally triggering and not just an easy, lighthearted reading. So, please keep that in mind. I think that this is something that anyone can do, but you have to be willing to do it, okay? And if you go through the whole process, then it should bring you a lot of relief and a lot of healing. That is, if you go through it with it and you commit to it, okay? But if you feel like this is not something that you're ready for, then that is perfectly fine. Please feel free to watch another video and come back when you're ready, okay? So, with that being said, we're going to start with the first stage, which is the blackening stage. So this is the stage where you are becoming aware of your shadow. This is the stage where you really get to know what this shadow aspect is. So again, the shadow is just what you've disidentified with. It's what you've deemed as bad or unwanted within yourself. So what is that actually showing up as? What does that look like for you in your life? So, the first card that we have is the Emperor. Okay? So I'm going to draw for each of these. I'll be drawing a couple of clarification cards. So, clarification on the Emperor please. Group 3. Couple of clarification cards, please. Okay. One more clarification card, please. Okay. So we have the 9 of Blades in reverse and the 5 of Masks. I don't think that one was in reverse, but this one was in reverse. Okay. So, what is the shadow aspect? What is it showing up as? Sorry if I'm rubbing myself a lot. It's quite chilly out here, but I'm trying to commit to filming all the videos in the same setting instead of changing settings halfway through like I've been known to do in some of my videos. But okay. The Emperor. Okay, so the Emperor is the father figure of the tarot. So there could be a shadow here relating to some sort of fatherly energy. Okay. The 9 of Blades reversed. Yeah. Okay. There is this feeling of doom that you're kind of trying to bypass and not look at. Okay. So there's a lot of fear here. Okay. Like there's a lot of powerlessness, a lot of fear. You feel very much like something is out to get you, or something is waiting for your demise, right? So there's a lot of anxiety that is kind of tied to this, some kind of issue with authority, almost. I want to say with this Emperor card, some issue with authority, which could be an issue with the authority of the universe, like an issue with God or with the universe or whatever your belief is around a higher power. It could be an issue with that authority. It could be an issue with a father figure or an issue with the government. I mean, there's an American flag here, so it could very well be that. But there's some issue with authority here where there's maybe a lack of trust of authority, or there's this, like, you're not really willing to accept authority of others. You want to be seen as superior. You want to be seen as the only authority. Like, you don't want to have to listen to anyone else. And then with this 9 of Blades in reverse, it's like the truth of how you feel. So you might be presenting as this, like, I'm in control, fuck authority, like, fuck the system, I'm in control, I'm the superior one here, I know what I'm doing, like, fuck everyone else, I don't need the government telling me what to do, I don't need my father telling me what to do, I don't need God telling me what to do, whoever it is, this authority, it's like, you're like, fuck that, I'm the authority here, okay? But that is very much just your ego kind of compensating for this feeling, which is kind of the truth of how you feel, which is this feeling of immense fear, right? This fear that you are at the mercy of something that has negative intentions towards you. So you feel like there's something that has negative intentions towards you, that has more power over you, and you feel inferior. And because of that, it's like you're trying to overcompensate by kind of having this, like, no, I'm the boss, I'm superior here, fuck you, right? So that's kind of like the coping strategy that this shadow aspect is using. But the truth of how you feel is that you feel very much at the mercy of something that does not have your best interest at heart. You feel very much at the mercy of something that feels like it's out to get you, and it's on. Okay, sorry, my camera cut out there, but I think I was saying that you feel like you are at the mercy of something that's out to get you, and it is kind of like this mysterious force. You don't understand what it is or what you did to make it hate you so much, okay? And with this 5 of Masks, it's like, yeah, you feel like destruction is inevitable, okay? You feel like you can't trust yourself to create anything, any new identity, because it's only going to be destroyed, right? So it's like you've had to mourn so many past lost selves. You've had to mourn so many past lost, ideas that you had that didn't work out, that it now feels like you can't trust anything, right? Even though you have more, like, you haven't run out yet, you have more things you can try, more people that you can become. It still feels like you can't really trust yourself to build anything because it's going to be destroyed by this force that is bigger than you, right? It's like you put your energy into something. I put my energy into creating something, into creating the life I want to have, creating the person I want to be, and something that has more power than me, that has more authority than me, whether, again, it be the government, or it be your boss, or it be God, or it be anything that you feel like just has authority over you, society as a whole, and you feel like it sabotages you, and it destroys what you create, and it leaves you feeling powerless, okay? So, to get a little bit more detail, I'm going to draw one of these cards here. Okay. Got the same card in an earlier reading, but I think this was group 1 who had this card. But we'll go with it for this one too. So we have the Sun, which is S-O-N, as in child, that is a boy. So, and it's very interesting here. We have this Emperor who looks like he is holding a sun, right? So you once felt like you were held securely and safely in the arms of some authority figure as a child. At one point, you felt safe in this kind of masculine authority energy. However, at some point, you lost some semblance of that, okay? And now you don't see yourself as a child of the universe that is wanted. You see yourself as this thing that the universe or some force is like out to get, okay? I'm going to draw one more card to clarify this as well with these cards here. Okay, hold on. Okay, the other card you got is this picture, and it is Lover, okay? So, so it could have been a love that you lost, that kind of left you feeling like you aren't allowed to have good things, like whatever you find is going to be taken away from you, okay? And yeah, with this Sun, okay, sorry, I don't know why my phone keeps cutting out, but with the Sun card, what I was saying is you feel like a neglected child. You feel like you don't have value, Again, with this Emperor, it's like you once at one point felt this security, but it's like you feel like you did something to fall out of the graces of this authority figure, and you don't know what you did to fall out of their good graces, So, and something about this situation has manifested with this situation in possibly your romantic life, where it's like you feel the same. You feel the same sort of neglect that you felt that you feel towards this authority figure at large in your relationships. You feel like you are not being securely held. You feel like someone is out to get you, or you feel like if you have something good, it's going to be taken away from you. Okay? So there's a lot of resentment here that I'm feeling. Okay? And it's almost like you've been made to bear a burden. Okay? With the Sun card, I'm almost getting like the imagery of like Jesus for some reason. Like it's like you feel like you have been made to like bear a burden that you didn't ask for. Okay? And it's like, if I was really, a child of the universe, why would the universe put me through this? Why would I be treated like this if I was really supposed to be a holy, manifestation, a divine being here? I don't feel divine. I feel like an unwanted, piece of shit that is just keeps getting broken and keeps getting broken over and over again. That is kind of the energy that I'm feeling here. And it's like, I can't even have love because I just keep losing it. I don't know what is so messed up about me that I can't hold on to nice things. That is the energy that I'm picking up here. Okay. So now I'm going to explain this process to you that you're going to do for this first step. Okay. For this first stage. So whatever this energy is kind of triggering in you, the first stage of this process is what I call the shadow dump, okay? So again, the blackening is about just becoming aware of the shadow, letting it fully express. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit down, you're going to take a piece of paper, and you are going to basically purge all of these feelings and these thoughts onto this piece of paper. All of these feelings of feeling neglected, feeling victimized, feeling powerless, feeling abandoned, okay? All of these feelings that I'm picking up on here, I want you to just purge them, write them out. What do you feel? What do you believe? Everything that you have been kind of repressing and not wanting to admit to. This is your chance to really just let it purge out of you, okay? So, excuse me. So, you're going to sit down with the intention of just letting your subconscious express what it needs to express. Don't hold back anything, okay? It's very important. After you do that process, you are going to then do a burning ritual, which will then signify the transition from this stage into the alchemical transmutation of this aspect of you, okay? So it's going to signify the transformation of these feelings into something else. So for this process, you have two options. You can either take that piece of paper where you purged all of this shadow stuff onto, you can take that exact piece of paper and you can burn that. Or if you want to keep a record of this process so that you can look back and see, what you wrote in the future so that you can track your progress, you can keep that piece of paper and you can get a different piece of paper and you want to look for the core fear or the core belief that is present within that shadow dump that you just did, that core fear, and you're going to write that down, okay? So if it's like, I am unwanted, for example, you would write that down, and then that is the thing that you are then going to burn. And again, this burning is to signify the beginnings of this transformation. So it's not to try to force these feelings away from you, but it's to signify that you are ready for a transformation. You are ready to see what else is possible. You are ready to release your grip on this belief so that you can see the ways in which you can have power and the ways in which you might be wrong and the ways in which you can create the life that you want to live. Okay? So that's what you're going to do. So again, you can either burn that original piece of paper, or you can burn another piece of paper. If you wish, if you don't want to interrupt watching this video to go burn something, you can wait until the end of the process to burn, and that will kind of still signify the completion of that process, okay? If you don't want to use fire, you can also drown it in water. That also works too. I just prefer fire because it has a very transformative energy, okay? So, that's what you're going to do. And once you have done that, like I was saying, I suggest pausing it here and doing it instead of watching all the way through. So if you want to play along, then pause here, go do that, and then come back and we'll move to the second stage, okay? Okay, so now we're ready for the second stage. So the second stage is the whitening stage. So this is the stage of purification where we are looking for the vulnerability and the innocence that is hiding behind the shadow. So the shadow comes from an inner child aspect that does not have its needs met. And so what we are doing in this stage is we are recognizing that aspect, okay? So the next card that you have is the Three of Staves in reverse. Okay? So again, this is representing the vulnerability and the child aspect behind this shadow. So I'm going to draw a couple of clarifying cards on this. Okay. One more clarifier, please. Ooh, okay. Okay. So we have, again, the Three of Staves in reverse, clarified by the Ace of Blades and by the Tower reversed. Okay. So, the Three of Staves, this is about open-heartedness, okay? There was an instance in your childhood where you were punished for being open-hearted, it seems like. Again, with this feeling of like, I can't have good things, I can't hold on to love. This feeling of being open-hearted, of being light, of kind of like just being free and being so open that you aren't even bothered by the darkness. This state of open-heartedness in you, there was something that happened where with this Tower reversed, you perceived that because you were open-hearted, that something got destroyed, okay? So something blindsided you, something that you didn't see coming. And because you were open-hearted, it hurt like hell, right? And so you swore that you were not going to be open-hearted again, okay? But what you didn't see is that it was not you being open-hearted that caused this destruction, okay? It's in reverse, so there is a perception here that is not correct. It is not being open-hearted that caused the destruction. Your vulnerability and your innocence and your freedom, your willingness to be free and to be curious and to be happy, that is not what caused this destruction to happen. Some sort of devastating loss where all of your stability kind of got uprooted, okay? With the Ace of Blades, yeah, so there is Look at how beautiful this card is. This is my favorite card in this deck. Yeah, it's like it was not your open-heartedness that caused this destruction. It was a belief, or it was an idea. Or hang on. What happened is that you were blindsided by something, and you made it mean something that it did not mean. You made it mean that you did something wrong. Okay, that it was your fault for being too open-hearted, for being too vulnerable. Okay? And so, but what was lacking here is that because you took this destruction, this unexpected loss, to me to be such a negative thing, is that you actually missed the beauty that it was trying to show you. Okay? Destruction can bring about beautiful things, okay? So, like, for instance, a lot of times a forest will need to burn in order for the soil to regenerate and for new life to then grow again, okay? So there was something that happened in your childhood where that was essentially what was happening, is the soil was bad, right? The whole environment was toxic, and so there was this destruction that came that was actually a benevolent act by the universe. However, it was not perceived that way. But because it was not perceived that way, you missed out on the beauty that it was trying to bring you, okay? You missed out on this new life that it was trying to show you, or you couldn't see it because you were so convinced that it was something that you had done that had caused this, right? And so you developed this belief that being open-hearted, that being vulnerable, that being light, because there's a lightness in this energy here. It's like an open lightness. That is a bad thing, okay? And so you've developed a distrust for authority because you felt like something got taken away from you, So, again, all that was happening was that you were being given an opportunity to create a new life, okay? But you couldn't see that, and you can't see that now, even when this destruction keeps happening, okay? And it keeps happening because you never took this power to begin with. You never took this opportunity to begin with. And so it's like a manifestation that you keep almost doing subconsciously to yourself because you don't trust that you can have good things, okay? So there's kind of some self-sabotage that's happening that is happening because because you don't trust that you can have good things. So it's trying to protect you, okay? So what you're missing is the positive intention behind this destruction. So the way this is manifesting now is, again, maybe you have some self-destructive tendencies, okay? But what you are not seeing is the positive intention behind that. So what is the positive intention behind this loss? What is the positive intention behind this destruction? What am I trying to get out of destruction, okay? Out of this destruction. You know, what am I trying to create? And am I creating it in the way that I want? Am I just, destroying out of fear, or am I trying to create something? Okay? So the vulnerability here is really this fear of being open-hearted and freely and directly going for what you want. Okay? So that is the vulnerability that we need to work with and that we need to look at for this next exercise. Okay, so this next exercise is going to be a communication with this inner child aspect of you. So what you're going to do is you're going to write 2 letters, and you can decide what order you want to write them in. But the first letter is going to be a letter from your inner child aspect to your adult aspect. So it's going to be from the perspective of your inner child that felt like it was wrong for being open-hearted, okay? The second letter is going to be from the perspective of your adult aspect to your inner child aspect. And you can decide what order you want to write these in, okay? I recommend starting with the inner child aspect, but if you intuitively feel like you want to start with the adult aspect, then you can do that. So what you're going to do is, similarly to the first one, you're going to sit down with the intention of, letting your subconscious, speak through you, letting your inner child self speak through you, okay? So it's kind of like a channeling process. Some people like to, when they're doing channeling writing, they like to write with their non-dominant hand, as it's believed to be more connected to the subconscious. However, I don't personally like doing that, just because it's like not legible when I do that, because I don't have any control over my non-dominant hand. But you can do it however you want, okay? You can use whatever hand feels most useful to you, okay? And so you're going to sit down, again, with that intention of, I am embodying this inner child aspect. What do I want to say to my adult aspect, okay? So you're going to write 2 letters. If you don't want to write a letter, you can do something else creative. You can draw a picture, write a poem, whatever it is. But you're trying to communicate between these 2 aspects, the inner child and the adult self, okay? So you're going to write both of those letters. And then, so pause this video and do that. And then we'll come back and move on to the next stage, okay? Allow this to be a very emotional process too, because this is the most important, emotional stage here. So really allow those emotions to come through, and there's no right or wrong. You don't have to say the right things, okay? This is just allowing your emotional truth to come through, okay? So once you've done that, then come back to this video for the 3rd stage, okay? Okay, so now we are moving on to the 3rd stage, which is the yellowing stage. So this is the stage where in alchemy, in order for one substance to change into another substance, you have to find qualities of the desired substance within the undesired substance. So if you're trying to change lead into gold, you need to find qualities of gold within the lead, okay? You're looking for a similarity between the 2. So to apply this to shadow, we're looking for the gold within the shadow. So we're looking for the unwanted aspects within, we're looking for the wanted aspects within the unwanted aspect, okay? So if your shadow here is this this distrust of authority, or is kind of this almost self-sabotaging energy, okay? Right? This fear that you are powerless to authority, or powerless to this destructive impulse within yourself. This is now going to show us the gold that you can extract from that. So what is a way that you can exalt that quality into something that is actually wanted, okay? So we have the Queen of Blades in reverse. Okay, I'm going to draw a couple of clarifying cards. Queen of Blades. Reverse, can I have a couple of clarifying cards? 1, 2. Okay. Okay. So we also have the 2 of Staves and Strength. Okay. So with the Queen of Blades in reverse, this is about having discernment, receiving the messages without jumping to conclusions, right? So the gold to extract here, it seems that you are very, you're very perceptive. You're very, because there's this fear of being blindsided and having things being taken away from you, it's almost like you're hyper vigilant in a way, and where you are very aware of everything that could go wrong all the time, okay? So there's this hyper vigilant state. However, that can actually be a strength when utilized correctly, okay? So with the Queen of Blades, it's like you can be very perceptive and you can see the messages. You know, you see all of the messages that are around you all the time. You see the good and the bad. The lesson here is the discernment, okay? You can see the negative qualities in authority figures, right? You see how they don't always have your best interest at heart. So you see the good and the bad. The issue here is discerning, you know, when to take what messages and when to utilize what resources, and you know, when to trust and when to not trust. You know that it's not smart to necessarily trust everyone all the time. That is not a bad thing. However, you now have the discernment to know who to trust and when to trust, okay? So kind of the exalted form of this kind of complete distrust for being able to feel safe in authority is discernment, okay? Discernment. I know what is right for me and what is not. I can trust myself to accept the blessings that are coming to me. And I know that if they're coming to me, I'm meant to have them. And I trust that I'm not going to fall, okay? You need to have a stable foundation. Because if you can have a stable foundation, then it's like, I trust that even if this blessing goes away, I am still sitting where I'm sitting, okay? So that would be the exalted form of this energy, okay? It's this discernment, okay? And we have the 2 of Staves. So, yeah, it's like you, because you are so perceptive and you are so aware, you have the ability to like capture lightning, you know, like you have the ability to take opportunities as they come. Look at this lightning with this tower moment. You will have the ability, you will see the beauty in destruction, right? Again, with this Ace of Blades, this beauty, you will see the beauty in destruction, and you will know how to harness that destructive energy, that destructive impulse that you have within yourself. Harness that and capture that, you know, that intense energy and use it for your advantage to create instead of using it to destroy yourself, right? This very intense lightning like energy that you have of this like immense passion, right? This destructive impulse, the exalted version of that is harnessing that intense energy to create, okay? That intense anxiety, that intense fear, that intense anger, you can harness that and use that energy to create, okay? When you are using this destructive impulse with conscious intention to create something better for yourself, that is the exalted form of just destroying anything good for yourself because you don't trust that you can have it. It's like, instead of that, how can I, you know, if a fear pops up, like, oh, this isn't going to last, I don't know about this. It's like, how can I take my power back and harness all of this anxious energy and do something about it? Like, how can I, harness this intense energy? Because you're very tapped into collective energies here. You're very tapped into like anxieties in the collective. So it's about, how do I harness that and use it to my advantage, right? How do I, I'm aware of the fact that there's a lot of anxiety in the collective right now. Okay, what is the opportunity here? What is the opportunity in this anxiety? What is the opportunity to capture this light, right? With this tower, the tower moment is an opportunity to capture something, right? The lightning is a gift, and you know that, and it's why it's why destruction has become your saving grace. It's because it's the only thing that you can count on. And so you know that the only thing that you can count on is destruction. But a more healthy way of going about that, so you're not just destroying everything in your life, is to harness that destructive energy and destructive power to create, so that you have stability and you are standing firm and you don't have to lose everything over and over again. Instead, you can just transform things a little bit every day, like you don't have to destroy everything about you every day. Instead, you can say, okay, I'm going to be a different person tomorrow. I mean, that's a form of destruction. That's a form of dying and rebirth. And it's like you understand that very intensely. But instead of doing it in a way where it is only causing you pain, it's about, accepting that, there is really nothing I can count on except uncertainty itself. But however, I'm going to use that to empower me, right? Because I know that I only have this moment. Right? This is about the present moment, capturing that opportunity. I only have this moment, so I'm going to use everything in my power to capture the energy of this moment and do everything I can with it. Okay? And then we have the strength card. Again, so it's like you have so much strength, right? This experience has taught you so much about resiliency. You have so much incredible strength. You can survive anything because you have survived destruction after destruction after destruction, because it's been a self-fulfilling prophecy where you have destroyed things for yourself over and over again. But what it's done is it's taught you that you can survive anything, and that there is something about you that must be stable, that must exist even when everything else gets destroyed. You continue to keep existing and keep trying, and you persevere. There's something about you that is unbreakable, that is indestructible, and you understand that now. Okay, you understand that now, and that is the gift in this experience, right? You understand that there is no authority that can ever take away this power. There is no authority that can ever take away this strength. Okay, you understand that because you feel like you've lost it again and again, and yet you're still here. And yet you still have power. So what is that teaching you? It's teaching you that you never lost it in the first place, right? It's teaching you that you are stronger than you ever thought you could ever be. Okay? And that you have so much power if only you are willing to accept all of the energies of the present moment and harness them. Harness. That's the word here. Harness the energies of the present moment, the good and the bad, the anxious, the fearful, the angry, everything. Harness the energies of the present moment and use it to create what you want to create, okay? And use your discernment to know what is for you and what is not. I know that I can trust this because I have a stable foundation, right? I'm stable in the instability, right? Because you know that you can't really count on anything, and that the only certainty is uncertainty. But you feel stable in that. You have the opportunity to feel stable in that. And the key to getting there is to recognize your power in creating from the present moment, okay? So there could be a lot of present moment kind of exercises that you might need to do to kind of get yourself to this state, okay? So for this next exercise, what I want you to do is you're going to take out a piece of paper, and you are going to, kind of what I've just done here, but more personal for you. You are going to, choose one thing from this shadow that was revealed. So this either distrust of authority or self-destruction, one of those, qualities that we've talked about. Choose the one that is speaking the most to you, that you feel the most resentful about or the most disapproving of. And that is the one that you are going to then list everything you can think about how that is good, about how that is something that can actually give you power, about how that is something that can give you some kind of gift, right? So like what I've just outlined here, the gift of harnessing the power of the present moment, the gift of strength and resiliency, the gift of discernment. These are all examples, but I want you to come up with as many more as you can think of reasons why this quality, this shadow that you've disidentified with, of fear of authority, of fear of destruction or the self-destructive tendencies, I want you to write down as many things that you can think of about why this is good and reasons to approve of this, right? And so this is what this is going to look like in its exalted state, okay? So you're going to write down as much as you can, okay? And make sure that it's genuine and authentic and that you actually believe it, okay? So only write down things that you believe. So I promise you'll be able to find things. You just have to brainstorm and really work with it. But do that make as long as list as you can, okay? And that's the third step. Once you do that, come back to this video for the last step, okay? Okay, so the last step is the reddening stage. It's the fourth stage. So this is the stage where the end substance now becomes what is desired, okay? So this is the stage of the full integration of the shadow. So this is all about the embodiment of that exalted, integrated state, okay? So for this card, for the stage, we have the Three of Masks, which is the same as the Three of Cups. But look at this, and then look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at these. Okay. Look at these these masks that are destroyed here, right? So all of the selves that you have created and then destroyed, again, because of the self-destructive tendency. It's like everything that you have destroyed, every self that you have ever destroyed creates the amalgamation of you. It's like all of your past selves are accumulating to this one entity here, right? It's like you understand that you are an accumulation of multiple selves, of multiplicities, and you are shifting, always changing, right? But at the same time, you are also always, there's a consistency. You're always changing, so there must be something that is there that is doing the changing. Do you understand? So it's finding a stable sense of self within this constantly shifting identity, okay? And with this hourglass here, understanding, moving beyond the limits of time. Okay, again, with this like past, it's like you can reclaim your past. You can reclaim everything you've ever destroyed and make it into a creation now. It's like it doesn't matter if in the moment all you wanted to do was destroy something and you weren't thinking about creation. You have that power now. You can transcend time. You can transcend everything. It's like your ability to, because what I was talking about, like with the present moment, it's like for you, it's like the past, present, and future all exists within the present moment. Your past self, your future self, and your present self are all kind of contained in this singular bubble of who you are, and it's like you have this power to kind of transcend time and to be any version of yourself at any time, and to constantly change your past, change your present, change your future. It's like there is so much powerful energy in this group. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna draw 2 clarifying cards on this. I almost feel like I don't need them, but just for the sake of consistency. Okay. So we have the 6 of Blades reversed, and we have the High Priestess. 6 of Blades is all about moving on. Yeah, so it's like this dark past that you had, you're telling the story of, oh, I had a dark past and now I'm trying to move on from it. But what if you told the story of a past that, like, what if you made the past something that wasn't, what if you rewrote your story so that the past was no longer something that causes you pain? Do you understand? Like, it's not about changing what happened, but it's about changing your perspective of it enough to where it's not even like this thing that you have to get away from anymore. It's this thing where you are like, yeah, that happened and I'm glad that it happened. Like, yeah, I lost a lot of things and I'm so glad that I lost them. I am so glad that these things got destroyed, because look at where I am now, So it's really about reclaiming this past to the point where it's not even something that you have to leave behind. It's like, no, I'm taking it with me because it gave me so much. And with this, the High Priestess, yes, it's like you are the embodiment of wisdom. You are the embodiment of intuition and just this deeper understanding, right? This deeper understanding of what it means to really just be be one with yourself, feel complete, feel like you have so many answers, like you have so much wisdom. And that comes from this integration of your past, your present, and your future. It's like you are really like a time master. It feels like you can just like transcend all that is and just like be this incredible, incredible, powerful being that is squarely in the present moment. And by being in the present moment has access to all moments in history. It's like you really just have so much to gain here. And with this High Priestess, it's like you have a lot to offer people too. So this Lover card, this energy of like wanting love, it's like you're gonna get it with this High Priestess. She's very sensual. She knows what she has to offer and she firmly stands by it, right? So very intense energies for this group. I am going to draw one last card for you, which is going to represent the fully integrated aspect of this, okay? And then you are going to do one more exercise. Don't cheap out on me, because this is very important. This last exercise that you're going to do, okay? I'm going to explain it in a second, but it's extremely important, so do not skip this last exercise, okay? Okay, wait, that's too many cards. Okay. What is the animal spirit that represents this exalted state? Okay, well, I said one, and you gave me a lot. So let's do that again. One card, please. Interesting. Okay. We have the bee. Very interesting here. Okay. I'm going to read the description because I'm not that familiar with this particular card. Okay, B, earnest, hardworking, and democratic. The B personality is a delight to be around, especially when there's a team project on the horizon. Bees love to work steadily and thoughtfully until the final task is complete. They are sensitive creatures, aware of many subtleties at once. Since they're artists at heart, they usually add creative details to the overall vision. For the most part, they have bustling, joyous personalities, until they're too tired from all the work, then they gripe, and then they sting. When in balance, content, active, vibrant. When out of balance, overworked, annoyed. To bring into balance, mini vacation. Okay, interesting. So, yeah, when you're like out of balance, it's like this sting. Yeah, that's kind of, that almost destructive tendency. However, the bee is all about, creation. You're pollinating your reality, right? You are giving life to your reality. And bees, I feel like, you know what it is to put effort into something. And bees, like this, again, this creative energy of like, or like when a bee pollinates a flower, is it, it's doing its little job of spreading pollen all around. Is it aware of the impact that it's having? Is it aware of the immense role that it plays in the environment, in the ecosystem? Is it aware of all of the plants that are going to thrive because of it? Is it aware of the ways in which it is literally changing its reality and changing the world and, mixing pollens of different plants together and like creating new substances? Like, no, like it's just doing it. So that's interesting. Like bees are actually really powerful creatures when you think about it, right? Because they have a hand in everything. Like I said, you're aware of many subtleties. You have this very perceptive energy where you are kind of aware of everything, and everything that you touch, you are changing in a way that is like creating something better. It's like every single thing that you put your energy into, even when you leave, even when you're not there, the impact is long lasting. The impact of bees is long lasting. Even when they're gone, the impact that they did with that pollination is long lasting. It's like you're sowing the seeds for the future you want to create, and you know that future is happening now because, again, you are transcending time, bitch. Like you understand that time is an illusion, essentially, and everything you do now is setting the seed for the life that is going to happen in the future, that is already also happening now. It's a little bit crazy, a little bit esoteric, but like that's just what I'm feeling for y'all, okay? Like you're very powerful, and every single thing that you do, whatever you put your energy into, as long as you do so, with this kind of open curiosity and without this expectation. Like again, a bee is not saying like, oh, I pollinated this flower, why is it not growing? Like, it doesn't have expectations. It's just doing it. It's just being. It's just being a bee, right? So it's about this sense of beingness. Sorry, I had to laugh. Okay? It's just being. Okay? And I feel like that is really your exalted state, is just this sense of beingness, of not attaching to any expectation. And that way it almost doesn't even matter whether or not something gets destroyed, because you're like, it doesn't matter if it does, I'm still gonna pollinate it when it grows back, So that is your exalted aspect. Okay, so for this last step, this is very important, okay? This last step is all about the practical things that you are going to do to embody this aspect. So you're going to make a list, okay? Last list that you're going to make, I promise. But you're going to make a list of all of the things that you can do to meet the need of your inner child self, which was this need to be open-hearted, to be vulnerable, right? And to feel safe in that. So how can you meet the need for safety of this inner child self? So I want you to list all of the different practical ways that you can meet that need. Okay? The need to feel safe and secure. And write down as many different things as you can think of, okay? Of practical things that you are going to do every day to become the embodied, exalted aspect of this distrust, okay? Because remember, we had this distrust in the beginning, and now the exalted aspect is this understanding of the fluidity of life and of the fluidity of creation, right? But you still need to find a way to feel stable and feel safe in that. So in order to embody that, make a list of all of the different ways, the practical steps that you can take to become this bee creator that is just creating without expectation, right? So what can you do to get to that state? What are steps that you can take to meet this need for safety, for certainty, so that you can let go of expectations and you can just be, right? You can just be a bee, okay? Okay, so that is the last step. So what's very important is that you make that list and that you stand by it. So those things that you wrote down, you know, whatever they may be, if they involve reaching out to other people, then you better do that. You know, if they involve, you know, finding resources for this or for this, then do those things, okay? That's very important, because if you don't take that action step, you're not going to see a lot of progress. But if you take that action step, then this is really going to set in motion a lot of things for you, okay? So thank you so much for joining me today. I love this group. This group, I think, was my favorite. Y'all were just like, I had this such a powerful energy here. I had such a great time. I hope that this was helpful for you, was healing for you. And I'm just so grateful for you that you are joining me today with this. I just feel so passionate about this, and I just hope that it was helpful for you. And again, if you are interested in a more one-on-one reading with me, the description, or the information for that will be in the description. I will be offering some readings very similar to this on my Etsy shop, so please check that out if you're interested. And thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you very soon. Have a good week, and namaste.